Labisi's hands were shaking again. She was only 14, but Auntie Damaya was shouting at her like she was a grown woman who had done something terrible. Labisi, are you deaf? I said bring that cloth here before I count to 3. Auntie Damaya's voice boomed through the small, hot shop. The sewing machines were still running, but everyone stopped to look at Labisi. Labisi held the bright yellow lace with both hands. It was not even her mistake. It was senior apprentice, Sade, who cut the cloth wrongly. But they all blamed Labisi, they always blamed Labisi. Ma, please, Labisi said softly. Auntie Damaya's eyes widened. Please what? You want to spoil my work? You want to chase my customers? Before Labisi could answer, Auntie Damaya snatched the cloth from her and slapped her shoulder with it. Not hard enough to injure her, but hard enough to shame her. The other girls snickered. That is what you get, Sade whispered. See this school dropout. Labisi felt the sting not from the slap, but from the words. She tried not to cry. She had promised her grandmother, before she died, that she would be strong. But standing there, with everyone laughing, she felt small. Very small. Stand up straight, Auntie Damaya barked. When your mates were in school, you were running around like a lost goat. Now you want to come and learn tailoring? You think it is play? The words hit Labisi like stones. It was not her fault she left school. If grandmother had not died, if auntie had not handed her over to this wicked woman, maybe things would be different. A customer entered the shop. A rich-looking woman in gold earrings. Instantly, Auntie Damaya changed. She smiled sweetly, like sugar. Ah, madam, welcome. Come and see your beautiful dress. Then, without turning, she whispered sharply at Labisi. Go to the back. Wash all the dirty clothes. And if I see one stain, just one, you will sleep outside tonight. Labisi's chest tightened. Sleep outside. Again. She wanted to speak. She wanted to say, but I am not learning anything. Why am I only washing? Why am I only carrying water? Why won't you teach me to sew like the others? But the words refused to come out. She quietly walked to the back of the shop, where the smell of wet fabric and soap filled the air. Her eyes were burning, but she would not cry. Not today. As she picked up the bucket, her small hands trembling, she made a silent promise. One day, I will be free from this place. And everyone will know my name. And that was the day everything started to change for Labisi. Labisi dipped her hands into the cold, soapy water. Her shoulders still stung from where Auntie Damaya had slapped her. But the hurt inside was much deeper. School dropout. Sade's words echoed in her head. It wasn't true. She loved school. She loved reading and math. But when grandmother died, the money for school died with her. Her auntie had said, enough of this reading. It is time for you to learn a trade and make yourself useful. And she had sent Labisi to her friend, the wicked tailor. A big, hot tear finally escaped and rolled down Labisi's cheek, mixing with the dirty water. She was not learning a trade. She was a slave. Suddenly, the back door flew open. It was Auntie Damaya. Her sweet customer smile was gone. Labisi, stop that and come here. Now. Labisi's heart jumped. What had she done wrong now? She quickly dried her hands on her old wrapper and hurried into the main shop. The rich woman in the gold earrings was holding up a magnificent dress. It was made of the most beautiful purple and blue lace Labisi had ever seen. But the woman's face was a thundercloud. Damaya, look, the woman shouted, pointing to the sleeve. It is ruined. Labisi looked closely. One sleeve was sewn perfectly. The other sleeve was crooked and messy. The stitches were big and ugly. Auntie Damaya's face turned pale. She knew this was Sade's work. Sade was lazy and her sewing was often bad. But Auntie Damaya would never blame her senior apprentice. She turned and pointed a long, sharp finger at Labisi. You, she roared. You clumsy, useless girl. You must have touched this dress when you were cleaning. You have ruined madam's dress. Labisi's mouth fell open. Me? Ogre, no. I never touched it. I was in the back. Slap. Auntie Damaya's hand hit Labisi's face. The sound was loud and sharp. The whole shop went silent. The pain was fire on Labisi's cheek. She saw stars. "You are lying." Auntie Damaya screamed. "You are a liar and a spoiler. Madam needs this dress for a big party tonight. What are we to do now?" The rich woman looked at Labisi with disgust. "Such a stupid girl," she hissed. Auntie Damaya grabbed Labisi's chin, her nails digging in. "You will fix this. You will sit here and you will unpick every single wrong stitch. Then you will sew it back perfectly. If you are not finished by sunrise, I will send you away. I will tell your aunt you are a thief and a destroyer. You will have no home. You will sleep on the street." Labisi felt the world spin. No home. The street. It was her worst nightmare. The other apprentices smiled. Sade looked relieved and happy. Auntie Damaya threw the beautiful, ruined dress at Labisi. Then she pushed her onto a small stool in the corner. "No dinner for you. No sleep. Just work." The shop closed. The other girls went home. Auntie Damaya locked Labisi inside, alone in the dark. Labisi held the dress. She was trembling. She did not know how to fix it. She had never been allowed to touch a sewing machine. But then, she remembered her promise from earlier, "One day, I will be free." A new feeling filled her. It was not fear. It was anger. It was strength. A small, pale moonbeam shone through the window. It was just enough light to see. Labisi took a deep breath. She looked at the messy stitches. She had watched Auntie Damaya sew 1,000 times. She knew how it was done. Her small, scarred hands reached for the unpicking tool. She would not cry. She would not give up. She would show them all. The first thread snapped. Labisi began to work. The thread was tricky. Labisi's fingers, sore from washing clothes, fumbled with the tiny, messy stitches. A tear of frustration welled in her eye, but she blinked it away. She could not let the tear fall on the expensive lace. Snap! Another wrong stitch came loose. Suddenly, a shadow moved outside the shop's front window. Labisi froze, her heart leaping into her throat. Was it a thief? Was it Auntie Damaya coming back to check on her? The shadow came closer. The door creaked open. Labisi gasped and jumped back from the dress. Standing in the doorway was a woman, not Auntie Damaya, not a thief. Her wrapper was tied around her waist. Her eyes were sharp but calm. It was Abidemi, the tailor from the shop opposite. She stepped inside slowly. "Who is here?" she asked, squinting into the dim shop. "Why is light still on in this woman's shop?" Labisi's voice shook. It's me, Ma." Abidemi's eyes adjusted, and when she saw Labisi on the stool holding the half-unpicked dress, her eyebrows shot up. "What are you doing?" she asked, marching forward. "Hey, are you tampering with someone's dress? Are you stealing?" Her voice was loud. Accusing. Labisi's heart cracked open. Nobody ever believed her first. "No, Ma. I am not stealing," she said quickly. "I work here. I am one of Auntie Damaya's apprentices." Abidemi paused. Her eyes widened a little. "You? Apprentice? Since when?" She looked genuinely confused. I'm always at the back," Labisi whispered. Abidemi stared around the dark shop, then at the expensive lace in Labisi's lap, then at Labisi's swollen eyes and trembling hands. She could see something was wrong. Very wrong. She hummed softly, folding her arms. "Where is your madam?" "She went home," Labisi said. "She locked me inside. She said I must fix this dress tonight." "Tonight?" Abidemi's voice rose. "This child? Alone? On this kind of lace?" Labisi nodded again. Her throat burned. And then, like a flood that broke the wall, everything spilled out. How her grandmother died. How her aunt dropped her here like a bag of rice. How the other apprentices insulted her every day. How she washed, swept, carried water, but never learned. How Auntie Damaya blamed her for everything, even things she didn't touch. Labisi's voice shook, but she did not stop. She had held the pain for too long. Abidemi listened without talking. Her face slowly changed, surprise, anger, pity, and something else Labisi had not seen in a long time: understanding. When Labisi finished, silence filled the shop. A long, heavy silence. Finally, Abidemi let out a deep sigh. "Such is life," she said quietly. "Life is hard. Some people are wicked. Some people have no pity." She looked at Labisi's small hands on the ruined dress. "But you must work hard so you can leave this place soon. Do you hear me?" Labisi nodded. Inside her chest, something warm moved, like a tiny bird waking up. There was something about Abidemi, the way she stood, the way she listened, the calm in her voice. It made Labisi feel seen, safe. Like maybe for the first time an adult was on her side. Abidemi turned to go, but she stopped at the doorway. "What is your name?" she asked gently. "Labisi." Abidemi nodded slowly, like she was planting the name deep in her heart. "All right, Labisi. Lock this shop when you finish. And tomorrow, be strong." She stepped into the night. But the feeling she left behind stayed with Labisi, warm and bright. Something told Labisi that this woman, this Abidemi, would not forget her. Something told her that help was coming. She didn't know when. She didn't know how. But her heart whispered, "Hold on. Someone has finally seen you." Labisi finally finished unpicking and fixing the sleeve. Her eyes were heavy. Her fingers hurt like fire. But she did it. It was almost 11 p.m. She locked the shop and walked out into the quiet night. The street was almost empty. Only one dim streetlight was shining. Her legs were shaking with tiredness. As she walked, she saw something on the ground, something green and soft. A Naira note. She looked around. Nobody was near. Her stomach twisted. She knew picking something on the road was risky, but the money was just there. Maybe it was 200 Nigerian Nairas. Maybe 500 Nigerian Nairas. She couldn't see well in the dark. Slowly, she bent and picked it up. "I can buy soap," she thought. "Maybe small bread tomorrow morning." Her face was still swollen from the slap. Her heart was still hurting. But the little money felt like hope. She folded it and hid it in her small handbag. By the time she reached her aunt's house, everyone was asleep. She slipped in quietly and lay on the mat on the floor, too tired to even think. The next morning, the tailoring shop was loud as usual. Her fellow apprentices were gossiping and laughing. Auntie Damaya was shouting orders. Labisi walked in quietly and began sweeping. Her stomach was empty. Her head felt light. Then Imi suddenly shouted, "Everybody wait. I saw something." Everyone turned. Imi was holding Labisi's small faded handbag. "See money." Imi cried, raising a crumpled note. "Who lost money yesterday?" Before Labisi could speak, Auntie Damaya jumped forward like a snake. "Emi," she shouted. "It is my money." It was a lie. Everyone knew it. But nobody would dare say so. Imi's eyes widened with fake shock. "Ah, Ogre, your money. That means Labisi stole it." The whole shop burst into noise. "She is a thief. I knew it. See her face, she looks like someone that steals. She wants to spoil this shop." Labisi's heart slammed against her ribs. No, it's not Ogre's money," she cried. "I found it on the road last night. It was just lying there." "Lying where?" Sade shouted. "So you just pick money anyhow? Thief. You think we are stupid?" Imi added. "You wanted to buy sweet Abi for yourself, ABI?" Tears filled Labisi's eyes. "Not again. Not today." Auntie Damaya pushed her forward. "Where did you see the money? Tell me now." Just as Auntie Damaya raised her hand to strike, a voice, sharp and clear, cut through the noise. "That money is mine." Everyone spun around. Abidemi stood in the doorway of the shop. Her face was a mask of anger. She marched straight up to Imi and snatched the note from her hand. "This is my money," she declared, holding it up for everyone to see. She turned her furious gaze on Auntie Damaya. "I came here last night to check on a noise and I must have dropped it. How dare you call this child a thief for finding my lost property?" The shop was so quiet you could hear the flies buzzing. Auntie Demaya's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She was stunned. How can you prove it is yours? She stammered. Prove? Abidemi laughed a short, harsh laugh. She pointed to the corner of the note. See? I always write a smaller on my money. Right there. Look. Everyone leaned in. Sure enough, a tiny, penciled letter was in the corner of the 500 naira note. Abidemi turned slowly, staring every apprentice in the eye. You accuse this girl every day. For what? Because she is small? Because she is quiet? Because she has nobody to defend her? The other apprentices looked at the floor. Auntie Damaya tried to laugh. No, we were just joking. Joking? Abidemi asked, her voice sharp as a blade. So you joke with calling somebody a thief? You joke with destroying a child's name? The shop was dead silent. Labisi stood still, her mouth open, her heart thumping fast. She had never seen anybody stand up for her like this. Never. Abidemi turned to her. Her voice softened. Labisi, follow me outside. I want to talk to you. And for the first time in her life, Labisi walked out of Auntie Demaya's shop with her head not bent. Abidemi led Labisi to the side of the building, away from the noise and the accusing eyes. The morning sun was warm, but Labisi felt cold inside. She held her small handbag close, her hands trembling. Abidemi turned to face her. Labisi, she said softly, how old are you? 14, Ma, Labisi whispered. Abidemi nodded slowly. You are young. But you are old enough to make your own choices. Labisi looked up, confused. You can decide what kind of life you want, Abidemi continued. You don't have to stay here, suffering under that woman. You can choose to leave Demaya's shop. Labisi gasped. Leave? Go where? Abidemi's eyes stayed on her. You can also decide to come and learn tailoring at my shop instead. Labisi's breath caught. Her heart started beating fast, too fast. Ma, me? Learn in your shop? She asked, shocked. But why? Why would you help me? Abidemi watched her quietly for a moment. Then she took a deep breath and spoke in a low, steady voice. Because I have been in your shoes before. Labisi's eyes widened. Yes, Abidemi said. When I was your age, I was under a wicked tailor too. A woman who beat me, shouted at me, used me for everything except sewing. I worked from morning till night. I cried every day. Just like you. She looked toward Demaya's shop with tired anger in her eyes. I know the pain. I know the shame. I know the fear of not having anyone to speak for you. Labisi swallowed hard. Her throat felt tight. Abidemi continued, her voice softer now. I promised myself that if I ever saw another girl suffering the way I suffered, I would help her. I would not close my eyes. She placed a gentle hand on Labisi's shoulder. You don't have to stay with your aunt if she treats you badly. You don't have to stay with Damaya. You can come live with me. You can learn properly. You can grow. You can become something. Labisi felt her whole body shaking. She could not believe what she was hearing. Live with Abidemi? Learn tailoring properly? Be safe. Ma, Labisi whispered, her voice breaking. Why me? I'm nobody. Abidemi shook her head firmly. You are somebody, she said. You are strong. You are smart. You survived things that would break many grown women. Then she said something that made Labisi's heart swell with heat. You deserve better, Labisi. You deserve a real chance. Labisi blinked fast. Tears gathered in her eyes, but these were not tears of pain. They were tears of hope. A feeling she had almost forgotten. Think about it, Abidemi said gently. You don't have to answer today. But know this, my door is open. And you don't have to suffer forever. She turned to walk back to her shop, but stopped. Labisi? Yes, Ma? I am proud of you, Abidemi said. And then she walked away. Leaving Labisi standing in the sunlight, heart beating, breath shaking, feeling something she had not felt in a very long time. A way out. Labisi wiped her eyes quickly and walked back toward Demaya's shop. She only wanted to pick her headscarf from the corner where she kept her things. Her heart was still beating fast from what Abidemi had told her. A chance. A new life. Hope. But the moment she stepped into the shop, she met a storm. Auntie Damaya grabbed her by the hair so suddenly that Labisi screamed. "You!" Damaya screeched, shaking her head like a rag. "You think you can disgrace me outside? You think I did not hear you and that woman whispering like rats? Ogre, leave me!" Labisi cried, trying to pull away. But Damaya's fingers dug deeper. "You are no longer my apprentice," Damaya screamed. Her face was twisted with anger. "Get out of my shop. Carry your bad luck away from me." The other apprentices watched with wide, hungry eyes. Not one of them tried to help. Not one of them said a word. "You useless girl," Damaya shouted again. "Go. Before I break your head. You want to follow that woman? Follow her. She will see your stubbornness. Get out." She shoved Labisi so hard that she almost fell. For a moment, Labisi stood still, breathing fast, her hair messy, her cheek burning from the pulling. Then something in her snapped. Something strong. Something that had been growing inside her since the night before. She lifted her head slowly, and for the first time in her life, Labisi looked her boss straight in the eye. "Yes," Labisi said, her voice shaking but loud. "I am leaving." Damaya blinked, shocked. Labisi grabbed her headscarf from the table. "I am leaving this shop," she said again. "I am leaving all this suffering. I am tired." Sade gasped. Imi whispered, "Ah, she has finally run mad." But Labisi did not care. Not today. She tied her headscarf with trembling hands and stepped toward the door. Damaya's mouth opened, ready to curse again, but no words came out. She had never seen this fire in Labisi before. Never. And before anyone could stop her, Labisi walked out of Damaya's shop. And she did not look back. From the moment Labisi stepped into Abidemi's workshop, the air around her changed. She felt it immediately. It was like stepping from darkness into sunlight. Abidemi's shop was bright, with open windows and soft yellow curtains dancing in the morning breeze. Long tables stood neatly in 2 rows, each covered with colorful fabrics: ankara, lace, satin, organza. The steady hum of sewing machines filled the room like music. Girls laughed as they sewed, calling to one another, teasing, gossiping, helping. The whole place buzzed with life. "Girls," Abidemi said proudly as she guided Labisi inside, "meet our new apprentice. Her name is Labisi." The girls turned. Their faces lit up. Unlike in Damaya's shop, there was no cold glare, no stiff posture, no harsh silence. "Welcome," shouted a chubby girl with dimples. "Good to have you," added another with beads in her hair. A tall girl named Ganyat stepped forward immediately. "Come," she said with a smile, "let me help you find a space." Labisi didn't know when tears gathered at the back of her eyes. Kindness. Simple kindness. It felt like a warm blanket around her shoulders. And that was how her new life began. At first, Labisi was nervous. She had spent almost a year in Damaya's shop yet only learned a few tiny things. Damaya never taught patiently. She never explained. She shouted. She commanded. And sometimes, she even refused to teach. "You people want to steal my secrets," was her favorite line. But here, Abidemi taught like a big sister. She demonstrated. She repeated instructions. She held hands. She guided fingers. She corrected mistakes gently. And Labisi absorbed everything like dry ground absorbing rain. Within 1 week, she could thread a machine in seconds, sew straight lines without shaking, cut basic styles on her own and take measurements confidently. By the 2nd week she was sewing simple skirts alone, joining sleeves to bodies and cutting blouses under supervision. Just 2 weeks. The girls around her often paused to watch her fingers move quickly, her eyes sharp, her body adjusting intuitively to the machine's rhythm. "Ah, are you sure you are not a hidden tailor?" one girl joked. Even Abidemi, who was not easily impressed, stood with her arms folded, watching with a proud smile. "That girl," she whispered to Ganyat, "is a star." And she was right. Labisi shined. Her speed. Her focus. Her hunger to learn. Her natural talent, the shop noticed. Customers noticed. Even the street noticed. But unfortunately, so did Damaya, her old boss. Damaya did not take Labisi's departure lightly. No, not at all. She ranted for days. She cursed. She shouted. She blamed everyone, including the sky and the ground. How dare she leave me, she screamed. After all the food she ate in my house. After all the training I gave her. What training? Imi muttered under her breath, but carefully, where Damaya would not hear. Sade snorted. It's because of that Abidemi. That woman. She stole our girl. Stole? Damaya echoed. She will see. All of them will see. Nobody steals from me and goes free. From that day, something dark settled over the little street. A quiet war began. At first it was small things. Damaya's girls stood outside their shop to block customers from entering Abidemi's shop. They whispered lies like, she spoils clothes and her apprentices tear fabric. They mocked Labisi loudly whenever she passed by. Runaway apprentice. Disgrace. But soon, things escalated. From today, Damaya announced one morning, eyes blazing, we fight. One afternoon, while Abidemi's girls were sweeping outside, Imi snuck near their doorway and scattered broken machine needles across the floor. Sharp, dangerous, invisible pieces. But Ganyat spotted the faint metallic glint on the ground. Everybody stop, she shouted. The girls froze. Labisi grabbed a brush quickly. Together, they swept every piece carefully. Ha! Ganyat hissed. That Imi girl is wicked. Labisi knelt, picking up a tiny sharp fragment. They want us to injure our feet. Abidemi, who was watching from inside, shook her head. This is only the beginning. Be wise. Be alert. 2 days later, a customer brought expensive Swiss lace for her traditional wedding. Beautiful material. Golden embroidery. Costly. While Labisi and another apprentice spread it out to cut, they noticed something strange. Ha, what is this? The other girl gasped. A small triangle cutoff had been sliced out from the center of the lace. Labisi's heart stopped. How? She whispered. When did this happen? Abidemi rushed over, examined the damage, and hissed deeply. They sneaked in early morning. Who? Ganyat asked, though she already suspected. Abidemi narrowed her eyes. Damaya's girls. But despite the sabotage, Abidemi didn't panic. She expertly adjusted the pattern, redesigned the blouse to hide the missing piece, and the customer loved it even more. Yet the message was clear. Damaya had sharp claws and she would use them. Customers often walked down the street comparing styles and prices. One Saturday morning, 2 sisters came for fittings at Abidemi's shop. They were smiling, excited, already imagining their outfits. But as they walked out, Damaya called sweetly. My children, come and see another design. Oh, what you are sewing is old-fashioned. The sisters hesitated, then Damaya added loudly, my price is cheaper. Oh, and I deliver quickly. Before Abidemi's apprentices could react, Damaya dragged the sisters inside her shop. Ganyat growled under her breath. What nonsense. But Labisi felt a cold anger spreading in her chest. She had endured humiliation under that woman for too long. Now she was attacking where Labisi lived, her new home. Her new joy. Her new chance. Something in her sharpened that day. Just as well. Because the battle was only beginning. Every evening after work, the apprentices at Abidemi's shop gathered at the back to discuss Damaya's latest tricks. They didn't plan revenge. They planned defense. How do we catch them if they try to sneak in again? Ganyat asked. Let's put bells on the door, suggested little Aduke. No, said another girl thoughtfully, we should take turns staying late to guard the shop. But we need to sleep, someone protested. Labisi raised her hand slowly. What if we set traps? The girls turned to her, surprised. Not dangerous ones, she clarified. Just things that will make noise if anybody enters. Ganyat slapped her thigh. This girl. I said it. Star. They developed a system. A tin of stones tied to the door hinge to rattle if opened. Chalk lines drawn across the entrance so footprints could be spotted. mannequins positioned near windows to block sneaking hands. Their strategies worked. The next morning, they found chalk footprints. Sade's small foot, Labisi said confidently. She knew that girl's footsteps anywhere. On another day, they heard the tin of stones rattling and rushed to the door just in time to see Imi sprinting down the street. It became a daily chess match. But through it all, Labisi learned even faster. Abidemi watched her closely. This girl, she whispered again. She came for greatness. One hot Wednesday afternoon, while Abidemi was out buying thread, the apprentices were busy sewing when a loud crash sounded outside. What was that? A duke whispered. Ganyat peeped through the window and gasped. Ha! Those witches have done it again. What? Labisi ran over. Outside, near the entrance of Abidemi's shop, someone had poured engine oil on the floor. If any of the girls stepped on it unknowingly, they would fall hard. As they stared, Imi and Sade peeked from behind a kiosk, snickering. Ganyat hissed. I swear I will beat them today. No. Labisi grabbed her arm. Leave them. Why? Ganyat demanded. Labisi's face had hardened. Her voice was low and steady. Because we will clean it, and keep working. That is how to defeat them. They fetched sand, detergent, and water. They cleaned the spot thoroughly. Then, as calmly as ever, they continued their sewing. Imi and Sade watched in frustration. Their plan had failed. Again. Word spread on the street that Abidemi's apprentices were sharp, united, and impossible to sabotage. Damaya grew angrier. We must disgrace them, she yelled. Her girls nodded eagerly. And so, on the morning of the monthly community market day, a very busy day, Damaya launched her biggest attack. She tore one of her customers' clothes halfway and planned to blame Abidemi. It will destroy her reputation, she said proudly. Everybody will think her hands are rough. So she tore the material, folded it neatly, and sent Imi to deliver it to the customer with a lie. Labisi was running an errand when she spotted Imi slipping behind the shops with a nylon bag in her hand. Something about her movement was suspicious, so Labisi followed quietly. When Imi reached the customer's compound gate, Labisi stepped in front of her. Give me that bag, she said calmly. Imi jumped. Hey! What? Why? Give me the bag. No. Labisi did not argue further. She snatched the nylon sharply. Inside was the torn gown. Imi gasped. Give me back. So this is the new plan? Labisi asked quietly. Spoil Abidemi's name? I don't know what you are saying, but Labisi simply took the gown and walked to the shop. When the customer arrived later, Labisi and Abidemi explained everything. The woman's eyes widened. Her voice shook with anger. Damaya. She thinks I am a fool. I know her handwriting. Her wickedness shows in everything she does. The customer stormed to Damaya's shop and created a scene so loud that half the street gathered. Damaya was humiliated. Her plan had failed. Again. And this time, in public. She glared across the road at Labisi like a wounded lioness. Labisi stared back. Something had changed in her. The timid girl who trembled under Damaya was gone. What stood there now was someone stronger. Through all the battles, one thing remained constant. Labisi's growth was unstoppable. Her stitches became sharper. Her measurements became precise. Her designs became bold. Customers started requesting. I want that new girl to sew for me. Where is the slim dark girl? She understands my shape. That one with the quiet face. Her hand is perfect. And every time someone praised her, Labisi would smile shyly. But inside her heart, something glowed. Abidemi often watched her, smiling softly. There is greatness in you, she told her one evening. Don't let anybody doubt it. Not Damaya. Not your aunt. Nobody. Labisi swallowed hard. Thank you, Ma. No, Abidemi said, touching her shoulder gently. Thank yourself. You walked away from darkness. You chose your own life.